And we are back. Did you miss me? Greetings, Royal Family. Episode 12 of Great Value version of Girlfriends. All right, so the episode opens up. Maurice, he calls Sabrina because he's, panicking. Remember, he peeled off on her when she went to the bank to see if Alonzo was all right. So he calls Sabrina and she tells him that he's going to jail. And she told the cops where he lives. So he's kind of freaking out or whatever. Part of him is like, oh, well, he shouldn't have stepped to me. Part of him, he's scared. And he gets a knock on the door. Sabrina's like, you better answer it. That's the cops. So he's thinking that it's the police. And he opens the door and it's Sabrina the simpleton. God. Oh, my God. So in a nutshell, Alonzo ain't dead. He was high. Okay. Yeah, very realistic. Anyway, so back to Andy's place. Okay. Karen and Aaron, they enter her place because, the cliffhanger from the last episode is like, is Andy alive? Girl, Andy is in her room, sitting in her bed, looking shell-shocked, rightfully so, right? Andy tells Karen that Gary was upset and that he didn't do anything to her, but then says that he hugged her and was squeezing her and she passed out. Karen is upset because Andy is making excuses for Gary's behavior in this scene. Why is Karen always Andy's savior? Like, Karen went through something serious too. You know what I mean? Like, somebody offed themselves in her salon. Michael Myers tried to attack her. Zach saved her life. I didn't see Andy, consoling her so much so. Karen couldn't even really get to process that because she had to deal with, they had to meet up at Sabrina's house to coddle Andy. Whatever. Andy was talking in a weird tone in this scene too, right? Like where she's like in his daze, and Karen gets even more upset saying that, she's not going through this with Andy again. And she mentions someone almost, taking Andy up out of here. Now they've been referencing this college incident with Andy since season 1, right? We still don't know. We can kind of guess what it is, but we still don't know what really happened. Anyway, Andy starts blaming herself, saying that she was wrong. He was married, etc., etc. Karen, she decides to stay at Andy's place with her. Okay. AA Ron, he goes to see about Gary at the hospital, and he's going to be going to jail because, he was drinking and driving. Gary, that is. But Gary doesn't have a scratch, a hair out of place, not a single thread from his shirt torn. And on the previous episode, we heard him in the car driving and he crashed into something. So, okay, sure. Back to Maurice. Maurice, he wakes up Sabrina. He's up and dressed and ready to go to work. And he's waking up Sabrina. You remember she spent the night at his place. And then Calvin shows up, ready to move in, right? He had his first and last month's rent. So Sabrina, she comes out of the room. Then she leaves. Calvin, she walks right past Calvin. They didn't speak to each other. Calvin tells Maurice about the girl that he was with the night before, and he couldn't do anything with her because he's so in love with Sabrina. This storyline with Calvin and Simple Sabrina is juvenile. It is somewhat of a realistic thing. It is realistic in a sense where two people can be scared of being hurt. They like each other, but it's still childish though. Childish as hell. Moving on to Rodeo and Danny. Zach shows up at Danny's place. And again, why the heck does Zach have his shirt open? He had his shirt open when he was at Fatima's place, when Fatima was with the girls. What? That was okay, I guess. So he needs some place to take a shower. So of course, Danny's not going to turn him away. So back to Andy, she's ready to head to the bank to give Gary his money. Karen suggests that she not meet Gary at the bank. But we all know Andy, she's determined to go by herself to meet with Gary and to quote unquote end things. I just don't understand this whole closure thing. There's some situations where the conversation just does not need to happen. You don't need to make an announcement. Gary, it's officially over. Unless you have some shred of hope that it's not over. Pretty pathetic. So we go to Sabrina. She's at this ghetto bank that they work at, where it seems to be nothing but drama taking place during the work hours. So Jacoby is the new hire. He walks up and he walks in, and she tells him how great he's doing. She hands him a report. Your report is great, yada, yada. He gives her a flower. He says because she's nice. So she's standing there looking weirded out and confused. He asks her out on a date. She declines. And Maurice still thinks that this new hire, Jacoby, is trying to take his job, which you're still working there, Maurice, so he's not trying to take your job, whatever. Then in walks Alonzo. So you got put to sleep on camera the night before, and then you show up the next day inside the bank on camera. Okay. So he apologizes to Maurice only because, he's scared to lose everything. So basically, his lawyer says that if he is charged with a hate crime, he's going down. So he wants Maurice to drop the charges, and Maurice isn't. Maurice says he doesn't care. The new hire, he comes out, he sees Alonzo. He's like, hey, Alonzo, what's good? He knows him from around the way. Now, did you guys see when Sabrina ran up on the new hire, Jacoby, and was like, did you know that he's the one that did what he did to Maurice? Well, now you know. Why are you so angry at Jacoby? He didn't know. What's with these angry, bitter, broken, dumb? What's up with this, Tyler? This is how you write your female characters? I'm confused. Whatever. Then Ron and Gary show up. Now, did y'all notice that Gary had on blue, and Andy had on blue too? No, it's just whatever. It is what it is. So Aaron and Gary, they show up, right? So they're waiting for Andy so that Gary can pretty much get his money. I don't understand why this had to be a whole Broadway production for the man to get his money. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Aaron asks Sabrina to call Andy, and she goes in the back office and calls her. And she wants to know, as usual, what's going on. And Andy tells her, nothing's going on. I'll tell you later. Again, recycled storylines, recycled script, like writing, recycled lines. Didn't we go through this in season 1 where Simple Sabrina was left out of everything? What's going on, Andy? You got to tell me what's going on. Here it is again. So Sabrina ends up calling Karen, who was already walking into the bank, and they go in the back office. And again, Sabrina, she's upset because she doesn't know what's going on. Repetitive. Sabrina then gets Danny on the line. Danny's on her way to work, but she makes a beeline to come to the bank. And she tells her, look, pull up. Something is going on. So Andy finally shows up. Now, I just don't like the fact that, again, here we are. Everybody is like begging Andy for something. The girls are always begging for Andy to tell them what's going on with her. I thought y'all was all sisters. Y'all friends from college. It doesn't seem like y'all really like each other like that. I don't know. So Andy tells them what happened with Gary. She's in the back office, supposed to be getting the money out the lockbox or whatever the heck, the safety deposit box. And they all console her as usual. And they tell her, like, you can't see Gary anymore. Andy cries, and she says that she's going to give Gary his money and be done. She painfully said it, like she really didn't want to say it, but they made her say it. Now they're all holding hands and having a waiting to exhale moment, just like they did in season 1. Girl, get your ASS out there and give that man his money and keep it moving. I just don't get this. Everybody drops what they're doing for Andy all the time since season 1, and she don't show up for none of them. I'm still flabbergasted that Simple Sabrina is not holding Andy accountable as it pertains to putting her job in jeopardy. But then again, Simple Sabrina, you brought that on yourself. And think about it. Andy was being investigated by the FBI. So was Gary. You take money from Gary while both of y'all was under investigation, and you put it in the lock box or safety deposit box at this very same bank where your friend works, where prior to that you had her launder funds from Gary's account into her. Yeah, whatever. She wouldn't have been able to do business at my bank, friend or no friend. Nah. So Gary gives this "I will always love you" speech, and she's handing him the money, and all of her girls are behind her. Danny, she's passing her smart remarks as usual. And it's just corny. It's just so corny how she's just held up on this pedestal and they all have to save Andy, but she treats them as though she's above them. She's the lawyer making all the money. You know what So Gary says, I really love her. I really love you, Andy. Yada, yada, yada. And then Andy breaks down crying after Gary leaves and the sisters are there to console her. Like, what? That's the end of the episode. I can't even. What do you guys think? Tell me I'm not tripping. It's like everything, this show is surrounded, like everything is about Andy. I mean, granted, her storyline is the most interesting, and that's only because of crazy Gary. Where is Jasmine, by the way? Gary's wife. She just vanished. Where's the private investigator? Like, what? These characters just vanished, huh? So now what's going to happen? Gary's going to go away too? And then what? Tyler, you could tell when Tyler Perry's getting lazy. I just don't get it. I mean, it's fun to review because it's just funny, try to make light of it. But I guess, so drop down, and that's all I got. I don't have anything else to say. Just bad writing, bad acting. It seems like he's getting a little bit lax, just like he did with Tyler Perry's Bruh. He gets lax, and then it just becomes like, it fizzles out, and it just becomes all bad. Do you guys think, here's the question, do you guys think that this show should press on to a season 3? Do you want to see a season 3? I was shocked that there was a season 2. So drop down in the comments, let me know what you think, and until next time, folks, peace.